So, pretty excited for picking this piece up. Um, Came into me about 3 weeks ago. I only worn it a couple of times. Stuck some gloves on just to give it a little wipe down because these polished links are like a magnet for fingerprints. It shows pretty much everything on it. Still a couple of stickers left on it. But I was super happy when I got the phone call to say that this had come in. As anyone would be with a Sky Dweller, I suppose, especially a blue face one. Been waiting for this for about 3 years, or maybe a bit longer. When they first came out, I got a phone call asking if I wanted one. I said yes. Turned up at the dealer to pick it up and couldn't believe my luck. It was gone. They let it go to another customer, which really frustrated the hell out of me. So after quite a few years of waiting, didn't think one would ever come through. Obviously, we know the games that Rolex play where they always want to link something like this with a couple of other watches and they rope you in to buy a few bits. Mine's actually a really long story as to how I got to the level and to the stage to be able to pick up watches like this. I have purchased a lot of watches from Rolex over the years. Been collecting them for since 2006. So I tend to buy only the pieces that I like. I don't really get involved in this game of buy something and we'll put you on a list and we'll get you the one you want. I've got a good account with Rolex and a good spend with them. Over the years I've just bought the things I like. I might do a review one day talking about how I got to the stage where I managed to pick this up at list price and how I got to it, because I know a lot of people put their names down and they'll never get one, and I also know a lot of people that have huge spends, like I'm talking about £300,000-400,000 spends with certain dealers, and they're still not able to pick one up. Mine's a bit of a funny story as to how I got this, and probably a story that I didn't really want to go into too much, but there might come a time when I'll talk about it to let people know how I got to it. This watch now has become more sought after than the Daytona. A lot of people say, yep, the Daytona is the one that you want, and you're probably not wrong. If you like the look of the Daytona, brilliant. I'm actually not a fan of the Daytona. Never been a huge fan of it. I tend to usually like watches with dates. Something without a date just doesn't really do it for me. I use the date function probably more than the time. You know what it's like. Everyone's got a mobile phone and you're always on your phone. You can always see the time. The watch is more of a bit of jewellery that you're wearing rather than for it to do its job as a watch nowadays. This is a little bit different. I love this because it's got the day, the date. It's got the GMT, the dual time zone. That's something that I know I will use a lot. I do have a GMT, and whenever I travel, I tend to put the GMT on. GMT will probably never ever get used again now, purely because if I'm going to travel, I've got everything that I need in one watch here. I don't really go diving, so I don't need anything like my deep seas or anything like that. For that function, this is more than good enough if I'm sitting on a beach. It's going to do its job. It's got the dual time zone, it's got the date, it's got the year. There's not much else that you really need. Now, I know we all know what year it is, and we don't really need a watch if we're going to be realistic to tell us what year it is. But just having that little function there and having the complication that this has just makes it a little bit more special for me. Rolex are not really known for making watches with crazy complications on them. So when something like this originally came out, I thought to myself, yeah, I've got to have one because it's just so different to what they usually do. I love the way the bezel rotates and actually is a working bezel. The watch feels fantastic on. It feels actually a little bit small for me. A lot of my watches are a bit bigger than this, apart from some of my subs and, like I said, the GMT. It just looks fantastic. I really do like the blue. I thought the blue was overhyped, and of course everyone wants the blue because of the value of what they're worth. If you can pick one up at list, your quid's in straight away. For me, I didn't know if I'd like the blue. I actually thought I always preferred the white. A good friend of mine has a white and the black face, and I absolutely love the white over the black. Never really had a blue in my hand, apart from when I first tried one on. I think it must have been about 4 years ago when they first came out, and it didn't really do it for me back then. I thought, yeah, it's not bad. Actually owning it now and having it on the wrist, it gets a lot of compliments, even from people that don't know the watch. They said to me, that's a smart looking watch. The fluted bezel really does ping, like the light, when the light hits it, it sparkles like mad. It looks crazy. Polished links, I've never really been a fan of polished links. I tend to wear most of my watches. They pick up scratches, and it frustrates me when I see scratches, and that's probably the reason why some of them I don't wear too often. I like to keep things looking as good as possible for as long as possible, but I'm also at the stage in life where I don't see the point of just buying watches, leave them sitting and locked away. Yes, I do keep them locked away. I have to keep, for insurance purposes, all my watches at a safety deposit box, so it's a bit of a nightmare. I can only ever keep, with the policy that I've got, I only keep one on me at a time. The rest of them go in a deposit box, and then you need to give them, where I have them, at least a week's notice to get in there. So you can't just put something on when you decide that you want on that day. But I'll keep one out at a time. This is what I'm keeping at the moment. Yeah, I'm handling it with gloves at the moment, just to show how it looks when it's all nice and clean. As soon as I put this on, like I said, this picks up grease marks and fingerprint marks all over the place. So kind of keep the gloves on to show this, but then it's going to go straight back on my wrist after, and I'll be wearing this for a good couple of days now, before I put it away. And then my usual day-to-day watch is usually a deep sea. It's just a watch I've had on my wrist for many years. Bought one, I think, first about 10-11 years ago. Swapped them over from the black face deep sea to the James Cameron, and I've just stuck with it. But it's a watch that I found very hard to take off. But after wearing this one, I definitely see myself wearing this a lot more in the future. I'm not the kind of person that's going to keep it there and not wear it just because it's going up in value. There's no point buying watches for that if you're doing it just for investment side of things. Yeah, if you can, brilliant. But there's better things you can put your money into, rather than watches and sitting there waiting for them to go up and having to have them insured and everything else. So for me, it's purely, I like the watches, and if they happen to go up whilst I own them and wearing them, brilliant. Let me know your thoughts on the watch, and let me know if you'd like to see a comparison done with a couple of other watches. I can do a few comparisons with maybe the white face, the black face, which I don't own, which is a friend of mine that has both of them. I do have a couple of bimetal Submariners, so you can see how the blues compare. Maybe, I don't know, deep seas, GMTs. Let me know what your thoughts are and what you'd like to see them compared side by side to, and maybe I'll start posting a few more reviews. I don't really do many reviews on my watches, but it's something that I might look to start doing if there's an interest out there. But yeah, stunning piece, and I think it's going to be a classic in years to come. I think once this gets discontinued, this will definitely be the watch that everyone wants.